All right, I'm gonna go ahead and build this push stick. It's a Steve Ramsey design. I'll have a link to that video down in the description. Very, very simple to build. The reason I enjoyed his was because of this little back piece and replaceable. So I'll go ahead and show you how to build it.
So this is 3/4 inch sanded ply, and I had a protractor that fit perfect for my hand. So I just used that, traced it out, trimmed it down a little bit on the crosscut sled, and then used my bandsaw to finish it off and cut the outside line. And for the inside, I used the trusty old method of drilling holes and using a jigsaw to cut out the inside of the handle. And while I'm finishing this up, I'll go ahead with my shameless plug of, if you want to hit that like and subscribe, I'd love to continue making more of these videos. And then I just used an 80 grit sandpaper to soften up the inside and the outside edges. And now I want to make the inside groove where the handle fits in perfectly. And the idea here is to just make a bunch of really shallow cuts and sneak up on it until it fits perfect. But my first cut was much deeper than I thought. So I'll come back and fix that later. But first I need to make sure my cameraman is okay from falling on his head. And by cameraman, I mean my phone propped up against a wood block. And now after that near-death experience, let's get back to making some cuts. So just continue to sneak up on it and test it. And if it doesn't fit, you go some more. And that, my friends, is some really advanced concepts. But in all seriousness, now that we've got that taken care of, and you can see that it fits just perfect, we're going to come back and use that deeper cut that I didn't like as a guide, just to trim it down and get it a little closer to the final width that we're looking for anyway. And then I'm just going to split the difference, make it even on each side, get ready for the next part, which is to add the bottom. And for the bottom piece, I just found a piece of 2x6 scrap that I had in the shop. Put a straight edge on one side, and then just use the base of the push stick to mark it where I want and make the final cut. And now we're just going to go ahead and attach these two. Just find the middle, and I'm going to go ahead and use some screws so I can pull this out later. I didn't put any glue in it because, again, I want to be able to replace the bottom when it starts to deteriorate from a bunch of cuts through it. And a bit of a sidebar, but you can see that I improved my fence and I have a better saw on this Ryobi, but it's about as good as it could get. So I do actually have a different table saw since making this video, but I did want to go ahead and finish this one up and be consistent with the video. But it does work just fine on my new table saw as well. And here I'm just cutting down some 1/4 inch plywood that I had left over from some other projects to use for the back of the push stick that's going to grab the wood and ultimately just be the sacrificial piece. So I'm going to end up making a bunch of extras for later on. And this is where a crosscut sled comes in handy. You could do this easily without a stop block. Just add a piece of wood and clamp it down, however you want to do it. But the crosscut sled definitely makes this job a lot faster. So I'm going to use some screws that can remove pretty easily later. And this is just my grabber piece. And you can see I have a bunch of extra spares. So let's go ahead and give it a test. And what you'll see during this test is I did not like the length of it. It wasn't grabbing the wood from the back very well. So I just basically trimmed off a couple edges. Could do this on a chop saw or pretty much anything, but just shorten it up a bit, make it a little bit more comfortable to grab the wood. And this time when I put on the back piece, I went much shallower, basically enough to be able to grab a 1/4 inch piece of plywood and still run it through. All right, I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and get this thing tested, see how it pushes the wood through now. And as you can see, it holds the wood against the fence really tight and pushes it through really smooth. So this turned out well.
All right, that was it. Easy as that. So you could see it works pretty good. I've already made a bunch of cuts on some other stuff and some test runs, and it works just fine. Keeps it tight. I'm able to push it down, and You can see this one is already almost toast, and so I'll just unscrew those and replace. So that was the main reason I went with this one, is because I can replace the bottom piece pretty easy. These are obviously easy to replace, and the top piece will last as long as I want it to. So simple little design, but effective. So hope you enjoyed it.